for starting your week with us. Hello and welcome to Business Daily. I'm Lee Ji-yoon in Seoul. Let's get started with a look at the day's highlights. The Korean government plans to set aside over $2 billion to tackle the country's unemployment rate, while also looking for ways to provide more quality jobs for young Koreans. It's costing more and more for people to go grocery shopping these days as food prices continue to surge, burdening households even more ahead of the Lunar New Year holiday. These stories have more coming right up. It's day 4 of the government's policy briefings for the new year, and topping the agenda today were the country's job market and welfare issue. Our Shin Se-min starts us off.
Acting President, Prime Minister Hwang Kyo-won says that the government will pump out more jobs and improve welfare and the livelihoods of the people in the new year. During the government's ongoing annual policy briefing on Monday, Hwang said the country's economic circumstances are heavily challenged by high youth unemployment as well as a low birth rate and requires more attention. And to tackle those issues, the Labor Ministry says that it plans to inject $2.1 billion into the job market to help ease unemployment, especially among the youth. That's an increase of 9.5% from last year's budget set aside for jobless young Koreans. The ministry will also seek to expand a government program that offers youth employment assistance to 210,000 people and offer consulting and training. In order to narrow the gap in quality between jobs offered by large and mid-sized firms, Prime Minister Hwang said that labor reform is necessary and urged the public sector to make efforts to create jobs while emphasizing the importance of building up a merit-based society. On the country's welfare front, Hwang said it's all the more important to create a strong foundation for young couples to encourage them to create a family and have children. Korea currently ranks top among OECD countries for its low birth rate, which has stood around 1.2 as of 2015 after dropping to a record low of 1.08 in 2005. In light of this, the Health Ministry says it'll continue to address the issue by offering various incentives for companies that create a more friendly environment for newlyweds and pregnant workers. The government also said it will offer support for low-income couples with a subsidy of over $1,600 a year. Shin Se-min, Business Daily.
Now, preparations are underway to fly in fresh eggs from the U.S. and Spain as Korea grapples with an egg shortage that's expected to worsen. The Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs said it has finalized quarantine and sanitation procedures for the import of some 1.6 million fresh eggs by the weekend. It's hoped that the addition will help ease the shortage ahead of the Lunar New Year holiday. Just last week, the government had moved to lift tariffs on egg imports temporarily. Meanwhile, at the farms, there are no new bird flu cases reported as of this Monday. Authorities have culled more than 31.23 million birds to date to contain the worst outbreak the country has seen. But it's not just egg prices that are going through the roof. Everything from produce to cooking oil are climbing ahead of the Lunar New Year holiday, handing a headache to many. And our Eunice Kim takes us to a market to see how the shopkeepers are coping.
This is an open-air market famous for its jeon, or Korean pancakes coated in egg. Even though it's busy with customers, the shopkeepers aren't without worry.
We usually use 900 eggs a day. Prices have gone up so much we're trying to conserve.
With egg prices having climbed almost 3,000 won in about a month, a tray of 30 eggs is now nearly double a 1 kilogram whole chicken. To make matters worse, the cost of cooking oil, another must for making jeon, has jumped as well.
We go through 4 18-liter containers a day, but not only are they more expensive now, they're hard to find.
Koreans overwhelmingly use soybean oil for its low cost. But major producers of the beans, like Argentina and other South American countries, were swept by historic flooding last year. As a result, the quality of the beans has dropped, leading to a fall in supply and a rise in the cooking oil's wholesale price. And it doesn't stop there. Produce like cabbage, white radish, and carrots have seen their prices jump by 2, if not 3 times, looking at levels from the 4th against the same time a year ago.
The winter crop of vegetables being shipped out now are not good quality because of Typhoon Chaba's impact. High prices will likely continue until the spring crop comes out in March and April.
Galchi, or hairtail, has seen its price jump by 1.5 times to nearly $10 as of last Wednesday. And as the price increases extend to household products like dish detergent and batteries, many Koreans are quite concerned about the days ahead. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
After a decent rally last week, the Korean equity market fluctuated all session long today, indicating that a certain level of uncertainty hangs over overall market sentiment. We're now joined by our markets contributor Choi Jin-seok to talk about overall stock market performance and upcoming market events. Hello, Jin-seok.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so how did the Korean stock market close on the first day of the week?
Institutional investors who unloaded massive amounts of shares dragged down the Kospi index, while the Kosdaq market struggled to stay in positive territory all session long. Both markets opened the session with a slight uptick but showed very limited volatility. The Kospi closed slightly down at 2048.78, while the Kosdaq fell by 0.24% to close at 642.15. By sector on the Kospi market, technology stocks performed relatively strong, but most sectors, including construction, pharmaceuticals, and steel, fell sharply. Samsung Electronics continued a decent rally, rising by more than 3% during the session to break another all-time high.
So what market events are lined up for this week? I mean, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has been drawing a lot of attention from global investors, and he sure is likely to draw a lot of attention this week as well, right?
Right. Trump said he will hold a news conference on January 11, his first since July. Trump has come under widespread criticism from the media for his unavailability to reporters, especially since his election victory in November. Therefore, the event will be closely monitored by financial markets as well to see if he can mitigate uncertainty surrounding his presidency. Economic policies mentioned during the conference are expected to draw a lot of attention too. The U.S. equity market has been enjoying the so-called Trump rally since the election. The Dow Industrial Average has risen by more than 8% since then, and all 3 indexes rose last week to break all-time highs.
And Q4 earnings season in the U.S. officially kicks off this week. So what are the expectations on that?
Right. Aluminum company Alcoa will begin the U.S. Q4 earnings season on Monday, but more and more experts and investors now consider bank earnings as the beginning of the earnings season. Major U.S. banks, including J.P. Morgan, Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo, will unveil their quarterly results on Friday. Expectations have been improving so far. Market research firm FactSet says the estimated earnings growth rate for S&P 500 companies is 3%. If the companies report a earnings growth for Q4, it will mark the first time the S&P index has seen year-over-year growth in earnings for 2 consecutive quarters since Q4 of 2014 and Q1 of 2015. By sector, utilities, financials, technology, and materials are expected to lead the way in a sharp earnings rebound.
Now, after the U.S. Labor Department released job figures, there are expectations that are growing for more rapid interest rates by the U.S. Fed Reserve. So what events should investors keep a close look at in this regard?
The U.S. labor market created fewer than expected jobs last month. However, November figures were revised upward and wage growth recorded a 7-year high. That's why experts and investors believe the Fed may roll out faster than expected rate hikes going forward. Along with its decision to raise rates in December, Fed officials signaled 3 rate hikes this year. In this regard, investors might want to closely monitor speeches made by regional Fed presidents. Boston Fed President Rosengren, Atlanta Fed's president, Lockhart, and St. Louis Fed's Bullard are some of Fed heavyweights who will deliver a speech this week. Most importantly, Fed Chair Janet Yellen will talk about future policy directions in a town hall meeting held on Thursday. It will be her first official appearance in 2017.
Now, the global foreign exchange market and the Chinese yuan are still major market factors that are spurring concerns. And we saw a similar story back in the beginning of 2016.
Right. In that regard, we need to keep a close eye on China's economic indicators reported this week, which will include consumer prices and trade data. And as you mentioned, you'll remember that last year, a sharp depreciation of the Chinese yuan raised global concerns because weaker currencies typically signal weaker economic growth and potential capital outflows. The Shanghai Composite Index sank by almost 7% on the first session of 2016, dragging down all global equity markets. Today, Chinese authorities lowered the value of the country's currency by the largest margin in 6 months. If government data this week beats market expectations, concerns over weaker growth and capital outflows could be mitigated.
All right. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
CES 2017 has drawn to a close on Sunday local time, and Korea's two largest electronics makers have wowed the world, sweeping up accolades from the tech show's organizer across a wide range of categories. Samsung Electronics welcomed a total of 34 awards for its home appliances, mobile phones, and in particular, its QLED TV that uses quantum dot technology. LG Electronics also won a total of 21 honors. Its signature OLED TV W Series bagged the Best of the Best and Best TV Product Awards from Engadget, the CES official award partner. The 2.6mm thick OLED TV is praised to have pushed TV design to new heights. Korea has been pushed out of the list of top 5 car manufacturers in the world. According to Korea Automobile Manufacturers Association, the country's total auto production came to about 4.2 million vehicles last year. Now, that's down more than 7% from 2015 and marks the lowest output since the height of the global financial crisis in 2009. The decline comes on the back of a prolonged strike in the nation's auto industry last year. Korea's top automaker Hyundai Motor and its sister company Kia Motors saw sales fall nearly 9.5% respectively. With that, the country's global production ranking has fallen a notch to 6th place. China came in first, followed by the U.S., Japan, and Germany, while India entered the top 5 for the first time. The threat of rising rates for Korea's household debt burden is on the rise. With bank interest rates already climbing, tens of thousands of households will be looking at a very different repayment burden. Our Lee Ju-young has more.
Whenever there has been talk about rising interest rates, one of the greatest issues of concern has been the country's massive household debt, hovering above $1.1 trillion. This is not only because of its sheer size, but also the types of mortgages many Koreans hold. According to the Bank of Korea, variable rate loans subject to change in market interest rates took up about 71.6% of the total household loans. Fixed-rate loans, on the other hand, accounted for just over 28% as of the third quarter of last year. While the central bank has left Korea's benchmark rate unchanged for more than 6 months now, the possibility of monetary tightening in the face of higher rates in the U.S. are ringing alarm bells. Home loan interest rates at commercial banks have already climbed from the upper 2% range back in the third quarter to the mid-3% range in November. What has many worried is the $66 billion repayment debt that high-risk debtors like households with low incomes and low credit ratings may stagger under if rates were to soar. Experts say selective care of debt repayments are necessary, or even boosting household incomes to help them cope with interest payments.
We need a comprehensive evaluation of the repayment capabilities, commitment, and plans of vulnerable groups, and then focus on those with a higher probability of repayment.
Korea's interest rates on mortgage loans are projected to climb to the 4% range sometime in the first half of this year, calling for more aggressive management of this ticking time bomb. Lee Ju-young, Business Daily.
And that wraps it up for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow with more at the same time, same place for your Business Daily. Until then, goodbye.